Hello and welcome to Crantock Art here in the southwest of England. It's another lovely spring day, which means that the kids in the nursery at the back are out playing, so if you hear children screaming and shouting, that's what's going on. So today we're going to have a go at making a duck planter. Now this particular one could be modified to be a jug, so his beak would be open and you could actually make a hole through from the beak if you wanted to, which would make it like a little watering can. Or, as I say, we can have it as a planter. And this particular one is going to be a little planter. So, first of all, it is a template piece. So the template is available on Etsy. What you then do for a small fee, you buy the end template, print it onto an A4 sheet, and then I advise you stick it on a piece of cardboard and then cut it out. You might find it easier, as I do, to actually stick the whole sheet onto a piece of cardboard and then cut around the individual bits. It's a little bit less fiddly. There's a few bits to this template, as you'll see as we go. The first bits, though, they're really important, are the side, that one, we need 2 pieces of that, and the base, 1 piece of that. So let's get started. Well, here's the base. You can see I need to just tidy it up a little bit. The clay was a little soft, so let's just neaten that up. So, as with all of them, once you've cut them out of the template, it's sometimes a good idea just to get your template again and make sure that you haven't stretched them or distorted them so that they will still fit. So there's our base. So as I say, we have 2 sides. There they are. And you can see already this one's a little bit mucked up during picking it up off the board. So let's just check it's okay again, whether I need to straighten it up. So line it up like that, and you can see I need to just make a little nip a little bit off there. So just do that. Straighten it up. Okay. And a bit off the bottom. Right. Now I have actually hair dried these a bit, just to get a little bit firmer, because what you want is them to be able to stand up. Now, as this is going to be a planter and therefore it's going to get wet, this is not something you can really make from air dry clay, unlike a lot of my other makes. This needs to be something from a fired clay. Air dry clay will just melt again once it gets wet. So let's get started. So first thing I'm going to do is get my base. I'm going to score all the way around it, like that. This is just to rough up the surface. Just get some slip into hand so that the pieces stick together better. And I've got here a pot of slip. Now my slip's a little dry, as you can see, so what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of water to that, stir it up. Sometimes people ask, what is slip? Well, it is just the leftover bits, the little pieces and things that you cut off, chucked in a bowl with some water. If you're having trouble making slip like this, the trick is to let these little bits go dry, bone dry, and then crumble them up as small as you can, and you'll have some nice slip when you add some water to it. So we've got something working there. Put that to one side for a second. Get my base back. So what I do is I'm going to paint all this around the sides, so to give us a nice strong join. At this point, I'm trying to remember whether this goes on the top of the sides. We're about to find out. I've got a feeling I might be wrong. Yes, I've put it in the wrong place. Yeah, this one goes on the top. So let's go around that bit. With some of my makes, the pieces go around the side. Some of my makes, the pieces go on the top. And sometimes I find it difficult to remember which is which. Even though I only made this yesterday. It's the joy of getting old. Okay. So what we want to try and do is get the front piece there in the middle of that piece there. Now, it's not an exact science, but you might find it helps to take a straight edge like that and to sort of line it up roughly like that. Just make a few marks so it helps you to get the edges in straight. So we start that one there, and then we go all the way around, tucking it onto the base to meet up there. Now, what I've really done with is to use this banding wheel. So let's get this into play. So then you can see what's going on. Let's lift it up off the board again, and we're going to put it on here. Okay, so you can see all the way around. I've got it tucked in, so it's level with the sides of that base. Then we do the same with the other side, so starting at the front, line it up there, and then again all the way around, get on there, like that. Okay, and to the 2 back pieces meet up. Like that. Don't break it in there. Try to keep the sides straight as you do this. If it starts to flop, then you're going to need to dry it out a little bit more. As I say, I have already dried these out, so they will stand proud. That V is where the head's going to go. Okay, so I'll take it back off the banding wheel now. So what I need to do next is to join these together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a coil all the way around the inside. So I've got some working clay here. I'll take a little bit. With the coils that go around, they don't all have to be one piece. They can be several pieces. Doesn't really matter. When you're making your coils, again, over there. When you're making coils, long, gentle rolls. You can't make good coils if you're stressed. Must be nice and gentle, and about the thickness of a pencil, no thinner. Then I'm going to get you back here and paint some slip around the inside there. And just to make it a bit clearer what I'm doing, I'm actually going to take this side off for a moment. So I'm going to put that coil in like that. Now there's a few tools you're going to need for this make, but nothing very complicated. Obviously you're going to need a knife to cut out your pieces. You're also going to need something you can smooth with. My favourite tool for this job is a lollipop stick. All I've done with this one is I've also cut the end into a point, which I find quite handy for getting into little areas. Don't need expensive tools. It's nice to have, they always feel lovely in your hand, but pottery doesn't need that. As long as you've got your hands and a few basic tools like a knife and a lollipop stick, you can do an awful lot. So let's smooth that all the way around like that. So I've smoothed it down onto the bottom, and now I'm going to smooth it up onto the side. I'm keeping my hand behind it so I don't push the thing apart. And again, I'm trying to keep it nice and straight all the way around. Turn it a bit, make sure you can still see. There we go. Right. Yeah, I'm just going to use my finger just to smooth it down a bit. Like that. Again, there are tools you can get that can do this, but I think your fingers are generally as good a tool as any you'll need. And if you're finding your trouble getting it smooth with your fingers, get a little bowl of water, wash your fingers, and then dry them. Don't try and do this with wet fingers, you'll just make everything sticky. So get nice and dry, keep a bowl of water and a towel to hand, and that will then help you to get the surfaces smooth. Try to pay special attention to the bits where you're on the edge, like that, nice and smoothed in. We've got a lovely strong join on that. So now I'm going to put a little bit of slip back on there, and I'm going to do the same with the other half. Get him on there, like that. Again, shape him round the base, like that. And then, I'm not sure you're going to be able to see this now, but I'm now going to put a coil around the other half. Again, nice smooth rolls. Paint some slip inside where that joins, where that's going to go. Put it in like that. Tuck it into the sides. I can't hold this for you to see because it's still a little floppy at this point, and it'll just disintegrate if I try. So I'm going to tuck it in all the way round on the inside. Smooth it again up onto the top sides, down onto the base, just to make sure this is going to stay put. It's absolutely essential you do this. A lot of people are, I know when they first start out, it's like, oh, that seems an awful lot of fuss. You just scraped and scored and everything looks good. But actually, during the firing, if you haven't secured this, the two sides will pull apart. So let's just get that all nice and joined there. And let's get a finger or a tool in there just to smooth that out a bit. Okay. And I've missed a little bit there, so I'll fix that in a moment after I've fixed up the sides. So to fix these floppy bits here, I'm going to get my knife, I'm going to score, so I'm going to put crosses all the way down both sides if I can get at them, like that. Put some slip on it, put them together, and I'm going to wiggle them a bit to get them level and straight, like that. Then another coil is going to need to go up the inside there to make all things secure. Again, this one's going to be in bits, broken it. I probably made this one a little bit thin. You could go a little bit thicker than this, but don't go too thick because you're going to end up struggling to get the clay worked out, and it's going to end up lumpy. So I get my tool. Again, my tools start to get dirty, so just clean it off. And again, supporting it at the back with my hand, so I don't push it out of shape. I smooth that down there. And then up the other side, like that. Okay. Make sure that's a nice secure join. I'm just going to use the lollipop stick itself just to smooth that off a bit. Because if you're going to use this as a planter, once it's full of soil, I never see. But it does make it easier to clean in the future if you can get it reasonably smooth now. So I've joined it there. Now I've got to do the same for the back. So again, I'll get the score all the way down. Now, do the same on the other side. Okay, put some slip on it. Put the two sides together, give them a wiggle. Make sure they're all nice and tight. Turn it round. It's starting to get a little bit more robust now, as you can see. So we can see that join at the back. Get a little bit more clay. Make a coil. Put it in. I've just dipped it in the slip just to make it a little bit more moist, because the longer you work on this, especially during the sort of spring and summer months, the clay starts to dry out very quickly. We're sort of in that funny point here where sometimes it takes days for things to dry, and other days it'll dry overnight, which makes it very difficult to decide how we should wrap things up. Okay. Let's put a little bit more clay at that crack at the top. That's going to hold the tail, so I want to make sure it's strong enough to be able to withstand the weight of the tail. So let's get that on there. Smooth it in there. There we go. Again, just smooth it in. Now, obviously, I've still got a crack down the front and a crack down the back. Now, it doesn't matter so much with this, but we do need to put a little bit of a coil in it. This is going to be covered up by the neck of the duck, so it's not going to be seen, but we want to make sure that it is strong. So again, I'm going to put a coil in there, so measure it. Make some slip on the crack, or make some slip on the coil, whichever you prefer. Put it in place. Get the tool, and again, give my tool a bit of a clean. Support the pot. The trouble is I'm going to be blocking your view, I think. If I do, there we go, got it. And smooth it all the way down. That way, all the way across that way. As I say, you're not going to see it, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Just work it a little bit like that. All that's going to be covered up. Okay. Right, let's turn that around, and we'll do the same with the back. Now this is going to be visible, so you do want to try and make a little bit more of an effort with getting this tidy. Although it's going to be under the tail, and probably nobody's going to look that closely, it is nice to do a good job. So put that up there. All we want really here is a really thin coil that will slot into that gap there, just to cover up that joint, because the one inside is going to be the one that really does all the work in terms of holding things together. But it's quite nice to just cover it up, make it look a bit tidier. You notice how whenever I do anything, I start off working really rough. People say to me, oh, you're so confident with the clay. That just comes with experience. But I always like to start off with just really getting it on, really getting it fixed, and then spend a bit of time just smoothing it down, making it a bit tidier. So just using the edge of the stick there to hide the joint. There we go. Nobody would know, apart from the fact there's a reinforcing bit there. Then I'm just going to go around the edges. Again, these aren't going to be seen, because the duck planter has like waves up it, like the duck is swimming across a lake, and that's going to cover up this. But again, just tidy it up. Yeah. All the way around. Okay. Right, so we have our basic pot. Now to add some bits to it. So the first thing we're going to add to it is actually going to be the neck. So these are the neck pieces. Again, I've firmed them up a little bit, so they're leather hard, they're manipulative, you can still move them around, but they're strong enough to be able to stand up. Now, I always have to check this because I never remember which way round they go, but you want them so that when they go on, they're level. If you put them on backwards, you can see how it tips forward, and you don't want that to happen. The duck's head will fall off. So you want it level. And you want them so that they're sort of about halfway up that V bit there. So one's going to go there, the other one's going to go there. And what we're going to do is these are going to go together to make like a V. Between them, we'll then have a triangle, which is one of the strongest forms of building. And a lot of building in pottery requires sort of architectural skills. So that will then make that really strong. If we just put the head on there alone, it's going to pull the whole thing down. So we need some sort of support. So having worked that out, I'm going to put these together by scoring them. So I'm going to fix them up before they go on. Put a slip on there. Okay, and then fold them together like that. Okay. And then what I'm going to do, so I want them edge to edge like that. So we've got like a fold there. And again, I'm going to get a little bit of clay. I'm going to roll out a coil, nice thin one, that will go down there like that. And then holding it at pretty much at right angles like that. And then get the tool and smooth it down onto one side and down onto the other. And try and make this reasonably neat. This is going to be the outside of the neck, so you are going to see this join. So I want to try and get it as tidy as possible. You can see when I cut them, I managed to lose the end off one. That doesn't really matter. It's going to be at the bottom. Again, my hands are getting quite dry and covered in clay now, so I'll give them a little rinse. Dry them off. Get some nice clean fingers. Again, they are dry, they're just clean. You don't want them wet. And then we just smooth that in like that. Okay. Right. Then this, so keeping the right angle, so now this is going to attach here, so say about halfway down, so the head is going to sit on there, it's going to rest on there, halfway down the V. So again, I'm going to score down the edge of there, and up there, put some slip on, position it. Go there, so say halfway down there, it's going to hold the duck's head nice and high. And then to make sure this V stays on, again, good old coils. If you have trouble making coils, don't panic, just roll out a slab and cut strips out of it. That'll work just as well. Put some clay slip up there, that coil goes in there. Got another coil for the other side. I like to start off my coils between my hands. I think that makes life a little bit simpler. Okay, and then again, a bit of clay up there. Put a coil in there. And then get my tool. Again, my tool's getting mucky, so clean it off. If it gets too mucky, give it a little rinse. And then holding in there, just going to smooth that down onto the main part of the body. And then smooth it up onto the neck. Again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time smoothing this, but you might want to spend a bit more time. Obviously, I'm just interested in getting the whole thing together, but when you come to doing your own, you might want to spend a little bit more time just making sure that's nice and smooth and tidy. A little bit of a crack there at the bottom. Let's sort that out. Okay, let's do the same with the coil on the other side. So again, always support it. With slab builds, you lack a lot of strength until they're fired. So you need to make sure you support it at all times. So let's go all the way out there. Like that. And then down the other side. Okay, and then again, I'm just going to tidy that up. As much as I am able, at the time allowed. There we go. That there. Now, one thing I want to make sure is that I don't accidentally trap air in that section. So what I am going to do is I'm going to get my paintbrush here, which I find useful for making eyes and all sorts of other things. I'm just going to run it down and I'm going to make sure it comes out the bottom there. You just see the tip of it there. That means that whatever happens, there will be an air flow out of there. Right, let's put that to one side a minute while we work on the head. So the head is made up of two side sections and two gusset sections. Okay, one is slightly longer than the other. That's the bottom of the beak, bottom of the head, and that's the top. So the one is also very slightly wider than the other. So the wider one is the top of the head. So what we have to do then, we get a side of a head. Again, I'm just going to get the template and make sure it hasn't got too distorted and all the messing around. Actually, it's pretty good. That was all right. Let's check the other one. Yeah, that's fine. Pick the best size. One size may be slightly better than the other, so I think that would make a 6 or 1/2 dozen of the other. I think that's going to be the outside of one head, so I'll lay that way. That's going to be outside of the other. Now there is also a top and a bottom, so put them together and make sure that you have got them around the right way. Yeah. The top is slightly more curved than the bottom, so that's the top. And you might find it handy if you're struggling to remember which is which. Is once you've worked that out, is to put a little T on the inside. Okay, so that's the top piece. So I put a little T on that as well, so I know what I'm doing. Okay, so I don't get confused. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to score all the way around the inside of the head. Although this isn't going to go all the way around, we are going to need to score all the way around. So I might as well do it all now. So again, if you're not sure about scoring, just little crosses. Don't cut too deep. You just want to rough up the surface. Do that again. Like that. Rough the surface up. Lots of little crosses. Okay, and we get our slip. And paint slip all the way around. Now these are going to be done in 2 sections. So we can take the top bit first, and we apply it to the top of the head there, and then curve it around, keeping in line with the head. And it comes in about there. And we get a bit of clay. Again, make a coil. And this is going to go around the inside of that to hold the top of the duck's head on. Do that, smooth it down. Again, you're not going to see this. It doesn't have to be pretty, just has to be firm. Like that. Then we do the same with the other half. This has got a little bit crooked at the end, so I'm just going to straighten it up. Now this overlaps the bottom. There's a reason for this, as you'll see. Whoa, sorry guys. If you want to have this as some sort of a jug, a watering can, whatever, you leave a gap there, and then when you attach the beak, you can have a flow through there. I'm going to leave a gap just because I need to. We have this little flap here, and this helps us to attach the head to the body in a little bit. So leave a little gap. If you don't want to, you can have it actually come up a little bit closer, should you want. You'll still have enough of a bit to attach. Let's put that on. Grab another coil. You notice I don't use these little bits left over. They get dry so quick when they're like this that it's actually better if you've got plenty of clay, just grab a bit more. Okay. Yeah, each time cleaning my tool. Again, I'm just going to join that on, nice and firm. Job done. Right, next, get my knife. Go around the edges of there. Like that. Put some slip on. Making sure we know which is the top and which is the bottom. So that's the top, hence for marking it. Just going to go that way around. And it fits on there. Again, line it all up with the gusset. Like that. So you have something that looks like that. Now, if you've got nice little fingers, or a tool, now we've got to try and put a joining piece of clay up on the inside. So, get in there, put it in. Again, support the head in your hand while you're doing this, and do your best to try and get in there and fix the side piece to the gusset if you can. And it's not absolutely essential you go all the way around. Do as best as you can. If you can get right to the end of the head, brilliant. It'll make for a stronger join. Okay. Right, so I've got that far. Let's smooth that. Now again, if you are going to use this as a jug, then it is quite important to get these surfaces smooth. I wouldn't advise using this for like a cream jug or something, because you're going to find it really difficult to clean. But as a sort of a little waterer, maybe for a kiddie, or just a novelty plant waterer, it'd be great. So let's just smooth that out so it's a little bit tidier. Now, we've got this piece like here, so we've got to make it look a bit more head-like. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm just going to go round and lose the join. So I'm going to get my tool, I'm just going to push it in and shape it so it's rounder. round it off all the way around. Same on the bottom, round it off. Okay, get my fingers on it. Again, clean fingers. Clean my fingers so I can get at it, smooth it in. And again, a little bit of time. Again, I'm rushing this because I want to try and get it done for the video, but again, spend as much time on this as you need to get it tidy. Then, to make it again look a bit less flat and a bit more duck-like, I'm just going to put my finger inside and I'm just going to shape it a little bit. So I'm going to get up into that junction there, as it were, and push it against my finger. And you see how it starts to round the head off and you lose that very acute angle. To do the same there, so push it down against my finger. If you've got a good coil in there, it'll hold. If you haven't, you're going to need to do it again. Do it again at the bottom and push it out. You see how it's starting to get a little bit more duck head. Let's push it down there. Again, spend a bit of time smoothing it. Like that. Make sure you can't see any of the joints. So you should end up with something that's a lot more rounded, a bit more like a head, and a bit less like a cube. Okay. Then we're going to put a beak on. Now notice I'm doing all this before I put it on, because once you put it on, you start to put a lot of pressure onto that joint. So I'm going to get the bill here. And I've got two pots. Here we are. They're both exactly the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get my finger and just curl it around my thumb or my finger to make it sort of that sort of shape. And then bring it down a bit at the end. So we're just shaping it like that. Okay, so we've got like a little flap there. Like that. Do the same with the other one. So curve it around my finger and then just shape the end in to make it like a little spoon at the end. Like that. And then this is the point, so we decide whether it's going to be a jug or whether it's going to be a planter. If it's going to be a jug, then you need to make sure you keep these two separate so the water can flow through it. I'm not worried about that. I'm going to put my beak together and I'm going to do it so my beak's going to be like that. So, again, get hold of me duck's head. I'm going to score along that edge of my bill. Put some slip on it. My finger inside the head and then attach it to the bottom of the head there. Like that. Get a little bit of clay into that joint. Again, smooth it in. Whoop, come back to your head. Like that. Okay. So we have half a beak. Make sure that it's on properly. So if you do want it as a jug, you might want to make that a little bit more spout-like. But mine's not going to be. Mine's going to be a planter. So then, put it down. I'll do the same on the other part. Scroll along there. You want the top part to be slightly longer than the bottom. So when you put it on, as you see, I sort of overlapped it at the bottom. When I put it on here, it does overlap a tiny bit. So I butt that up against the head, like that. And then I get another coil of clay. I put it round there. Now, quite often ducks have a sort of quite a pronounced piece here. So I'm just going to smooth that in. Okay, and then down here. Like that. Okay. Again, get my fingers clean. Smooth that in, tidy it up. Be careful when doing this not to over push it, because obviously you don't want to collapse all your hard work. So put that in like that. Quite often this is where they have their nostrils. Okay, so just tidy up on the side here. So I've got a little bit of a gap there, so I'm going to put a little bit of clay in that. Just tidy it up, make it the shape I want. You see how it's starting to look much more duck-like now. Put a little piece of clay in there. Like that. Okay. Right, next I'm going to attach it to the body. So I'm going to give it eyes, but I want to do those last. This is getting a little bit hard from the handling, so I'm going to do that. So I'm going to put my head on there. So you want the pointed bit sort of be about halfway down the head there. So that when it's attach like that. Let's get it up in that. This flap will come down onto the main body there. And you can see here that despite my best efforts, I did not get that in the middle, but that's okay. He's going to be looking over his shoulder a little bit. Gives him a little bit of character, like that. And you can see that it's strong enough with that neck piece and the sides now to be able to support itself, and that's really important. If it starts to flop, then you're going to need to firm things up, and you might need to cut your neck again because it'll start to get overstrained. So now I put a coil in there and a coil in there. Okay, up into there. Again, get my tool. Like that. Smooth it in. And as I say, that flap there will help to strengthen everything. So let's smooth that flap down as well. And a little bit of time tidying it up, making it neat. So I don't want to spend too much time because I don't want this video to be too long, but the more time you spend tidying it, the better it'll be. Now we will also have a gap there. So a little bit of clay. I'm going to dip it in the slip, make it wet, fill it in. Each one of these I make seems to get a little bit better. This one I think is better than the one I made yesterday. So anyway, tidy that all in. Like that. And the same on the other side. You see we've got a gap there. So again, get a little bit of clay. Put some slip on it. Tuck it in. Tidy it all up. Bits of clay stuck on his face. There, right. Now his beak open a little bit, just for fun. There we go. Straighten his beak up. Right. Next thing to do is I'm going to put his tail on. So again, I've got a piece like this. It is just, you can either have it sticking up. I'm going to just shape it in a little bit. So again, round my finger, curve it a little bit. So you can have it sticking straight up like that. Or if you're going to use it as a jug, you can, like I did on this one, curl it over. So you get like a handle. But this one is going to be purely decorative, so I'm going to have his tail sticking right up. So I'm going to curve a little bit at the top. It's going to go in like that. So again, scrape, slip, as always. Score it. Lots of nice gooey glue clay on there, and then tuck it in there. Have it curving over a little bit. Okay. And again, another coil between the tail and the body, just to hold it in place. Like that. Put it down there. And I'm going to actually put a coil on the other side as well, mainly just to make it look neater, because at the moment it does look a bit like a piece of clay stuck onto a bowl. So again, I'm going to get a coil, I'm going to put some slip on it. Kaya, quiet. Like that. And then get the tool. Work it in like that. Okay, and smooth it in like that. And again, I spent a bit of time, possibly off camera, just smoothing and tidying. So next thing after that then, you need some eyes. And this is what this paintbrush is for. So you want the eyes ideally to be sort of about a third of the way down the head. And it's always a good idea just to sort of mark them. So it's going to be sort of halfway along, a third of the way down, about there. So mark them on one side and then look down on it from above and make sure you're level going that way, and then look at it straight ahead. Make sure you're level going that way. And then we make a nice deep hole. Not quite that like that. So get a paintbrush in, wiggle it around, unless you've got a nice big fat paintbrush, of course. Like that. Then we get a piece of clay. And a bigger piece of clay. You might think, crikey, that's a big eyeball. Well, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to actually nip a bit off there. Then I'm going to cut that in half and hopefully make two eyeballs about the same size. So let's make a ball. I think this is still far too big, so let's present it up to the duck. Yes, very much too big, so let's make that smaller again. Roll it around. Check this one. So have them on the board in front of you. Roll them between two fingers. If you've got sensitive enough fingers, you'll detect the one's bigger than the other. That one is bigger than the other. Not by much, but a little bit. And try and get your eyeballs the same size. Then put a little bit of slip on them. Tuck them in. Right. That's one eyeball in. Let's do the same on the other side. Just widen that up. A little bit deeper. Eyeball in. Oops, a bit more. Be careful not to put too much slip on, otherwise your eyeballs go sticky and horrible. But you do need to put enough on that it's going to stick. You don't want your eyeballs falling out either. Okay, right, so he's got eyes. So he needs a little bit of neatening up there. Right, the next thing I'm going to do, and the last thing, and again this is optional, but on the one I've made, I sort of wanted, because it's such a deep thing, I want it to look like he's swimming. So I've made some waves. What I'm going to do with these, I'm going to score them. Nice big deep scores. I want this to really stick tight. And plenty of slip. And then big wave at the front, like that, just under his neck. So if I turn him there so you can see just where the neck ends, that goes on like that, and follow that all the way around, ends just by its back. Now with this you need to make sure that there's no air trapped under this, so it's not going to pop off. So you start at the bottom and you press it in, again support the piece, all the way from the middle out to the edges. So any air that's trapped there will be pushed out. Right, and then do the same on the other side. Again, make sure the big ones are going to go at the front, so do it the right way around. Lots of scraping and slipping. More than that. Really make sure this is going to stick tight. My waves dropping off. Again, starting just under the neck, bringing it round the side to the back. Press from the bottom, support it, do it that way around. Make sure you're pushing it so there's no air trapped. Up from the middle to the edges. Like that. And then the very last thing to do, should you wish to do so, is just to tidy that up. So lay him on his side, and you can go around with your finger or your tool just to tidy up that addition. Again, optional, because if you've got it stuck on right, it's not going anywhere. Right, let's have a look at you. So one last final check. So check him over, see what needs to be smooth, what needs to be tidied. So that little bit around the beak is a little bit funny. Let's give it a wash. Okay, but there he is. One completed duck. As I say, he's a bit rough and ready because I've done it in a hurry. And if you spend a little bit more time with it, yours will be a lot smoother. But there we have our basic duck. So I hope you enjoyed watching that. As I said before, the templates will be available on Etsy. If you look in the description below, it will tell you whereabouts to find them should you wish to do it. Or if you want to have a go at making your own template, feel free. And I'll catch you again very soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.